Okay, this is the March Aero Club safety meeting. Welcome. And my name is Roger Mann. I'm the safety officer. And we've got, what's your name again?
Robert.
Robert, yeah. He's the Aero Club manager. We got the chief pilot up here sitting up front. Right up front, you guys. And let's see, we got our own computer guy sitting right here.
We've got Mr.
Josh.
Pacific Trail back there too.
Who?
Mr. Pacific Trail.
Oh, Mr. Pacific Trail sitting back there too. Yeah, Steve Fitch. He's hiking across the mountains right now. He's taking a break right now. Okay, welcome to our Aero Club meeting. And we have, for you guys that are not familiar, we have a little bit of an agenda that we do. And one of the first things we do is we introduce new people. So, let's see. We might as well just start with you and we'll work our way around the room. Sure. So go ahead and stand up, introduce yourself, where you're from, what you do, and why you're here.
How's it going? I'm Justin. I'm a part of the squadron here. I'm a loadmaster in the 729th and looking to get my pilot's license. I don't have anything else. Unless you guys want to shoot some questions at me, I'll try and answer them really quick.
He wants to know what the pilots really do up front.
Yeah, we sit downstairs and sleep most of the time. So. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, go to sleep.
Yeah, they got them on film now, so my supervisor's going to be like, hey, you sleeping? But no, I'd like to meet anybody in here, so I consider myself a friendly person.
Well, sort of.
I don't know. Talk to Roger. Maybe he could shed some light on the situation.
And I may have to connect you with him, Doug, because he had...
I'm Doug.
Yeah.
Hi, Doug. Glad to meet you.
Yeah. Alex had a little medical problem, so those who had Alex may have to move over. So, okay.
All right.
All right. Welcome.
You don't sleep.
Okay. Let's see. We got somebody else who's not been here before and has not been introduced before.
You've been introduced. You said before.
Yeah, he had, but what happened to Knox?
How about Robert?
Knox said he was good. There he is.
Name's Robert. I've always enjoyed flying. I've been at March for the past 11 years. I decided to finally take advantage of the amenities that are available to me. And also I'm getting tired of dinner and a movie, so I want to step it up a little bit. Pleasure.
They'll make sure you can't afford dinner and movies.
Instead of just a dinner. Yeah. All right, I think that's it. Anybody else that's new that's joined the club, actually, if you haven't joined the club yet, you are welcome to stand up and introduce yourself. Okay, doesn't look like Fred. Yeah, he's old. Let's see. Ken Benner. Yeah, okay. All right. Next thing we're going to talk about is anybody that's in this room have gotten anything new as far as pilot's licenses or anything like that. Okay, let's do it. Stand up.
Got my license. Didn't crash, so we're good. Didn't crash, so.
Didn't crash, yeah. The examiner wasn't over there screaming his head off or stop.
Well, he was, but he was all right.
Yeah. But you overrode his panic, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How about anybody else? This includes solo. Just solo flying for your first time. Everybody? I know we've had some solo people, but maybe they're not here.
I already soloed.
Well, yeah.
I guess yesterday was my first official leave from March and then go to French Rally and back.
Okay.
Right.
You made it back.
Yeah. Pretty good, huh?
All right. Has anybody had their license taken away by the FAA or anything like that? Okay, Ken. Yeah. Okay. Any new airports anybody's gone into?
LAX. I did it.
LAX. Okay.
Foxfield?
Foxfield.
That's pretty good.
Okay. That's good.
Did you do it at night?
Yeah, because that can be a milestone, I'll tell you. I mean, your first solo flight is a very memorable thing, and then your first flight into a controlled airport with a tower, I mean a real tower, can be rather exciting for the first time. Okay. All right, experiences. All right, this is where you get a chance to tell your story. I guess George Watson's still, I don't see him.
He's here.
Is it where? Behind the post. Oh, he's hiding. Oh, okay. All right. George oftentimes has stories to tell at his airport that he.
They had another accident.
No, wasn't George?
We had our annual open house last Sunday, and I want to thank Waffle back there, Mike Martin and Tyler Tricky,
My pleasure.
for doing a flyby for us. And
You're
we had
lucky they found it.
yeah, we had a couple of crashes, one Bearcat and one other airplane. But
Seriously?
they were radio controlled.
Oh, okay.
One of them, you guessed it, went into a hangar. So been seeing you people down there at my open house. So come next year.
Dave and I were out flying around and checking out the trail for this little walkabout that I'm going to do. And coming back in, everything was fine, and set the flaps up and everything in my airplane. And I was pulling on the last notch of flaps, and I couldn't get them up because, like most airplanes, you got a bunch of wires hanging around for your extension cords and for your headsets and all this kind of stuff. And I'm down here doing this number at about 50 feet. And Dave's doing this number, and so both of us had our head in the cockpit, and it was pretty intense until Dave started hyperventilating. He didn't know what to say, but it was going to be in a hurry. And I swear to God, as God is my witness, an angel was there. It was a half a heartbeat. I would have been buying a new prop, a new wingtip, and everything else. And I looked up, and all I saw was concrete. And so it was really intense. So the story is, never, when you get close to the ground, there's no reason to be thinking around inside the airplane. Because it was pretty intense. I was shaking for a long time.
Wow. Yeah.
But anyway, so that's, I got a couple hours behind me, but it was still, it was a brain dead thing to do.
One of those things, yeah. And that's so easy to get caught up in doing that too. It really is. It's the big thing you're always told, fly the airplane, fly the airplane. But I'll tell you, those guys in that DC or L-1011 back, that went into the Everglades, they had all the hours in the world, they had everything, but they started paying attention to a little tiny lake and ended up crashing an airplane and a whole lot of people getting killed. But thanks, Steve, for sharing that. That's exactly the kind of thing I'm wanting to hear.
Well, somebody learns from that. Just one guy learns from that mistake.
Yeah.
I did.
I was grabbing anything I could.
So now it makes you a safer pilot than you're. Does it make you a safer mechanic?
But it's a proven thing, like a student pilot, they've got, they're always got the death grip. It's the people like Steve, myself, you get 1,000 hours and we get complacent, and it's real easy to get, okay, this is just normal, and it's not normal. You got to pick it out. It's easy to do.
Distractions are very, very easy, and we all know that because we've done it in our cars too. All of a sudden you hear going over those bumps. Fortunately, there was nobody there, hopefully, and you go, okay, I got away with it this time, but maybe the next time there might be a truck there, and it's just like that in an airplane. And in a way, that's kind of what we're going to be talking about tonight, and we're going to be kind of covering a little bit of that. Okay, anybody else to share anything like that? And it also includes the guys who fly for the Air Force too. If you've had anything happen as a loadmaster or anything like that too. Any incidences. Okay, Aero Club manager, we'll talk to him. Then we cover a little bit of the SOPs, which is the local operating procedures. And I just run like a paragraph, and I just do that every meeting. And hopefully, you know, within a couple of year period, we covered the whole SOPs, and then we start all over again. And so then after that, we will go into the main subject, which is called adding it all up, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Okay, Aero Club manager.
It gives me a nice picture to start off
Perfect
with.
picture. That says Bob didn't do this, but that was somebody trying to
That's
catch
about how
me.
my airplane was looking right there. Lean the other way.
That's how-
I saw the ground close.
That's how we scrape tips and tails, basically in that attitude. Seems like I'm always complaining, but I have to, and that's because we've got to get my costs down if we're going to survive for the year. But this is a clean sheet of paper, and unfortunately, we got scribble on it. This comes out of the computer. It costs the club money, and sometimes I have to buy the case out of my own pocket to supplement. But you know, we've got a stack of, where's the scratch paper located? Everybody know where the scratch paper is located? I got one hand because he had to get one today. David knows either. It's back where the credit cards, the slips are. There's a whole stack of stuff there. If you want to scribble, grab that and stay out of the computers because this is going to cost you money. We have to start raising dues. The next thing I want to talk about is the gas hose. This little tube here did belong in this in the thing here. It's the anti-siphon thing. I'm going to pass it around. I want you to feel the nozzle of this thing and how sharp it is. And what causes that is that people drag it on the ground. So instead of just taking and carrying the nozzle up to where the pump is, putting it on the ground and winding in the hose, and then pulling up the nozzle and then pulling it back out and then holding it while you reel it back in, we're dragging on the ground. These things are pretty costly. I managed to find a new one off of one that we had in storage, but this is just abuse, and to take and replace this is a couple $100. So if you want to keep our costs down, please give some respect to the equipment that we have, because some of this stuff, if the tube, the anti-siphon tube, had fallen out in the tank, we'd have to drain the fuel, pull skin, and everything else just to get it out. It's not worth it, so be aware. I just covered the paper issue on that. We're still finding errors in the uses of making the documentation for our fuel and oil usage. Double check the figures, and make sure you've got it listed under the correct airplane. No, it's a vertical column. We're finding sometimes the fuels don't add up, and we find the figure it's in a different airplane. It didn't even fly. It's in the hangar in storage. We've been pressed by higher ups on the uses of the printer, and the printer is basically for use for the Aero Club itself. It's not to be used for personal items, making copies and what have you. We're finding papers laying around where someone needs a copy of an endorsement for a solo. It is not required. Don't use the printer to start copying your little solo certificates to carry with you. It isn't going to help you out if you get stopped by the FAA. They're not authorized. You're using our paper and you're using the printer ink. And the cartridge for that Canon is $168. So, you know, we keep adding up. Those costs when we first got it were down around 110, and they've increased that much in the last 2 years. So we've seen stuff go up at the gas pump, and we've seen materials go up, we've seen parts for aircraft go up, and we're trying to keep our costs down. Spark plugs when I first started flying were $14. They're now $26 each. And that's at our cost. So just be aware that we try and make things last as long as we can, and we're willing to give you a good airplane, but just don't abuse it. Did you have something on the little tag up there that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I did. There was let's see, Tom Russo had, he's one of the guys that helps David G. in the maintenance part. He's also been the guy that's bailed us out many times with EPA. He knows the regulations forward and backwards, and he's helped the Aero Club magnificently staying out of trouble with these guys. And believe me, these EPA guys can come down there and literally they can just with a blink of an eye just shut us down if they think that we are violated any EPA regulations. So Tom has done a good job with it. But one of the things that Tom basically is his aim to the T-34 guys, but he's got this smoke oil cart that the smoke oil come on. He's got one 55 gallon drum on the thing, and he says that he re-greased all these wheels on that cart. So the cart now is really super easy to pull. So, but make sure that you put a chalk under it, because he's got chocks for the thing. Because if the wind picks up, it will roll now. It won't. It's not like it used to be. That cart will start rolling. So for those guys who are doing the T-34s and using the smoke oil, be very diligent as to what you're doing with that cart. And it's easy to use now, but just make sure you put the chocks underneath the thing. And also, yeah, put the cover over the top of it too.
The cover's got bungees on it, and he's got some grommets on it. So you just take the bungee and grommet it down to the cart. And what we're trying to do is protect the containment box itself, because if we keep water in it, EPA raises cane. What Roger was saying about regulations, they threatened us when we tried to get the gas tank filled in February, because they had to do an inspection, and they have the right to shut us down. That's why it cost us a few extra bucks to cancel an order of fuel. That was the other item which caused the price per gallon to go up a little bit, because we had to absorb that $600 for having it trucked back and forth out of the yard in San Pedro. But yeah, EPA is kind of funny, and people are willing to work with us, but just try and keep the thing covered, because that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Where does the smoke oil go in the T-41s?
In the back, behind.
Goes out the exhaust.
Yeah, well, it goes out the exhaust, yeah, eventually. But they put it in a little tank that's right behind the back seat of the T-34. And then that's used to pump the smoke out the back for when they do the missing man formation, and also parades too. Okay. All right. Before I get to this, just wanted to bring up one other item. Okay, I do the dues once a month. I try to run them on the 15th of each month. If the 15th falls on holiday or a weekend, then it's usually the next following business day. Okay. I have not been able to get to it so far because everything has just been busy as all get out, and I won't be able to start it until tomorrow. Now, one of the things I'm finding out now, for some reason, the banks, when they issue their credit cards, they tend to be more in 1 year on the expiration date than others. About half the club's credit cards are expiring on this year, and half of those have already expired, and I've been getting nothing but reject. Some of you in this room have been involved in that. Some of you are 3 months behind because of that. Okay, and technically I'm supposed to dismiss you after 90 days and then send you to collections. That's what the Air Force wants me to do. I don't usually do the collection side of it, although I have done in the past. And believe it or not, the individual that I did it on, he actually called me up a year later when his taxes showed up and said he totally forgot all about it. And he apologized, and of course they'd already taken the money out of his bank account. and he rejoined the club, and we reinstated him. So, but I don't like to go that route whatsoever. I'd rather not do that. But some of you guys, you've got to remember when your credit card expires, you've got to call me too. Okay, I know it's easy to do. I know it's happened to me. My card has run out, and I've had this. And all of a sudden, I get like from AOPA, "Hey, your card didn't work this year," something like that. But try to remember, and also not just the expiration date, but if your card just simply had been compromised and the bank gave you a new card, remember the Aero Club, okay? Because I'm getting way too many rejects. The last time I got like about 10 of them, and that's a lot. That's a lot of money that we're losing literally in the club, and just like we were talking about, we're hurting for money. I mean, they're looking at us really hard this year, more than ever before. Not just us, but all services. And they've already said they don't care who you are. They'll shut you down. If you're not making money, they're just going to shut you down, because that's how critical things are getting financially everywhere. And that includes the outdoor rec shop. That includes the only place that won't shut down, of course, is lodging, but they can rearrange it, cut them way back. Same goes for the club. The club, they won't shut it down because that's where they do the troop feeding. However, they can shut the club down, totally shut it down, and only have troop feeding out of there. So they're talking about doing those kind of things.
In essence, it has. It's closed during the week and only open on the weekend.
Yeah, the club hardly is even open at all anymore. And us, the Aero Club, I mean, we're the only ones here that like airplanes, believe it or not. You would think, being Air Force, gee, everybody in the Air Force likes airplanes. No, the admin people don't have a clue what an airplane is. And I mean that quite literally. They have no idea. It's just zero. And as far as they're concerned, they don't see the necessity of it. They don't understand why Gene over there got his private pilot's licenses recently. They just don't, it doesn't mean nothing to them. So we're fighting that battle. And so whenever I get 10 rejects, you got to figure just in your head, $25 times 10, we've lost that much money, and until I can get it recovered. So please look at your credit cards and let me know if they're out of date, or if something's happened. I've been sending emails to you guys, and I'm not getting any answers back, except for one or two. I do get some of them back, but some of them I just don't ever get an answer back.
That's the other thing too, is not updating the email address.
Yeah, I've had a lot of rejects on the emails too, and that's a little more. I've just only got about 3 people that I don't know how to get a hold of. I've even tried calling them, and all I get is busy signal. So enough said on that. Okay, real quick, SOPs. Right now I'm in Chapter 3 under Operational Restrictions and Local Area Procedures, and right now remain overnight, RON. Okay, if for some reason you have some kind of a problem where you cannot get back to the base due to either weather or you have a mechanical problem with the airplane. We had one individual that did put their airplane down and gave us a call. He did everything exactly what he was supposed to do. Just make sure that if you have to leave the airplane, that you secure it, and just like it says in the SOPs, secured in the 3-point aircraft numbers, tied down the wings and the tail, and both main wheel chocks too. Now we do have some little super light little wheel chocks that are in the back room. So if you go like cross country or something like that, you can take these things with you. They're made out of like rubber, I think it is, or something like that. But they're really kind of neat to just throw in the back. But at the very least, if you know you're leaving, just put the chocks in the back of the airplane, the regular ones that you got there, if you're going to go for any length of time. Obviously, if you're flying on a local and you can't come back, then you may or may not have your chocks with you. But at the very least, tie the airplane down. The Aero Club member will maintain control of the aircraft keys, and that's really important. Make sure that you keep track of those keys. We have been recommending that you leave your car keys in the key box when you go up and fly out locally. Even if you're flying on a cross country and going to be gone overnight, make sure that you don't walk home with those keys when you get back, especially when you go overnight. That's the time when you come back and you're just wanting to get back home and you walk out the door and take home the keys. If you put your car keys in that box where your keys are for the airplane is, then that won't happen. And believe it, we've had several guys here do just that. They walk out to their car, 2 minutes later they come back in the door. Well, I guess I'm not going anywhere until I exchange the keys. So that's a good idea to do that. Let's see, the Aero Club manager, or rather, if you do end up being delayed for whatever reason and can't get the airplane back, call the Aero Club manager or the club first, of course. And if it happens to be during the daytime, especially, there should be somebody there. If it's on the weekend, get a hold of the clearing official. And if not, then you call Bob. I actually was going to put my number up there too, or you can call me. A lot of you guys do have my number.
I know your number.
Huh? I'm not going to give it out. No. Yeah, mine is just 909-913-1809. And I know a lot of you guys have it already, but also too, because Bob may not always be available. But basically what you're doing is just letting us know that you just weren't able to get the airplane back for whatever the reason may be. Also too, depending on your situation, if it ends up becoming long-term, then we're going to have to figure out a way to get you back, of course, to where your car is, get the keys back at the very minimum. Or just have somebody who happens to be up flying go up and go out and pick you up and bring you back. Whatever the case happens to be. Any questions on this?
What's your number again?
I only gave it out once, that's it. 909-913-1809.
Good.
Okay? All right. Okay. Let's get into it. What time is it? How much time I got left? Oh, plenty of time. Okay. It's not 8 o'clock yet, so you don't have to leave yet. Okay, flying. How many here are flying? Well, I know he does.
What?
You fly too. You flew today. Was it your first time up? Okay, I didn't think so. You've been out before, haven't you? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, flying is a very unique. It depends on how you look at it. It's either your job or your sport or whatever you use flying for. Flying, you got to admit, is just a little bit different than most things that people do when they go out and go up in the sky. The Air Force and Civil Air Patrol, and I'm sure that also the Navy and the Marines do too, they have, because flying can be dangerous, they have what they call they exercise a risk management program. It's called CRM, a Crew Resource Management, or ORM, which is Operational Risk Management, and many other terms, whatever it is used. Risk management basically is lowering the risk of the flight that you're on, put it quite simply. All of us here, basically, maybe with the exception of a couple of people, I know that the older you get, the more boring you want the flight to be. You want that flight to just be nice and smooth and as boring as possible, except for Doug. Doug loves the thrill of having a student. sitting there scaring them to death. But basically, Ward. Long time no see. So, yeah, don't pay attention to him. He's just a loadmaster, so. Well, I lost my total train of thought. Okay.
You're about to dismiss us.
That's it. That's it. All right. Risk management is one of those kind of things where we already have been trained in, and I'll get into that real quick. Both of the Air Force and C.A.P. have risk management matrices, and let's see, I have it looks like that. I also have some copies up here if anybody wants to look at them. Basically what these things do is that you go through the matrix and you have numbers on there, and in this particular one you got experience and training. If you have greater than 1,000 hours as pilot in command, then your risk in this particular matrix is 0. If you've got less than 250 hours of pilot in command, then your matrix number is 20. And you go through the matrix like that, and you just keep going through until you finally come out down at the bottom. You add up these numbers, and if they go over a certain number, then you don't fly. Okay? In the Air Force, I've only seen it happen one time, and there was some extenuating circumstances. In the Civil Air Patrol, I have seen it happen there. However, there's been some crashes in the Civil Air Patrol that this should have been done, but they didn't, and they crashed and ended up killing people. Our unit did a matrix on the conditions of that one crash I'm talking about, and every single person in the room came back with no fly, no go. So the matrices, you know, they do work, and of course you've got to be honest with yourself too, and that's part of the thing. And I know that, you know, when I was flying for the Air Force side, you know, the aircraft commander was the one that stood up in front of it like this, and he's asked the questions. You've got to be honest with what it is that he's asking you, because in order for this thing to really work. For general aviation, here at the Aero Club, we don't get into that. You're not required to do any kind of the thing, you know, with the matrix. You don't have to do that. But we do it in ourselves. And it's kind of like, you know, like what Steve was saying and what happened today with his airplane. He knows now what situation he could get into that could cause him to get in trouble. So it does consistently, there's things that the Air Force has given to you, not just Air Force, but FAA has given to you to help you out in that area. One of those things is your checklist. I know that there's some people in this room that have flown and are not used to checklists like Air Force people are. I know, like, you know, any of you guys that fly for the Air Force or have flown with the Air Force, you know, you get ingrained with checklists. And when you come to the club, you know, the first thing you look for, okay, where's that checklist, you know? I know I did, and I still do to this day. But FAA, out there in the general aviation world, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, there's some people out there that I've known from when I was growing up Northern California that literally it was, you kicked the tires and lit the fire and went. Never even bothered looking at any kind of checklist. Everything was all up here. And unfortunately, I knew one guy that used to do that, and he ended up dying over it, and directly, because he didn't do a walk around in his airplane, and his whole tail section just came right off the airplane on takeoff. So it does happen. In the Aero Club, we do have to use the checklist, and as it says right up there, don't even think about not using it, because Air Force regulation is very clear. If you get caught not doing a checklist, then it's an automatic dismissal out of the club. That's the bottom line. Okay, another help is when preparing for your annual Aero Club flight check or your BFR. You younger guys who are learning how to fly, what you're doing is learning how to fly an airplane safely. That's the bottom line. And you're preparing for that check ride, okay? That check ride and everything that you're learning for that check ride are things that you must maintain as far as your proficiency in flying an airplane for the rest of your life, as long as you fly an airplane. The problem is, and I know that all of us have done it, even Doug Gillis, after that check ride, you have a tendency of just wanting to, I passed it, okay, I'm now qualified, and then somebody asks you a question, you go, I don't know, I dumped all that. There is a tendency to do that. Just like in college, you know. How many here go to college now? I know you do. You just kind of basically after the exam and you pass the course, you kind of have a tendency of forgetting everything. Don't. Because that's part of your risk management. It may not be written down on a piece of paper saying this is the ORM or CRM, but it does lower your risk. Is it hot here?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm hotter than you guys because I'm up higher. Okay, now, don't make it complicated. It's not a big deal. Air Force tries to do these things like this. The matrix, they try to make it straightforward. You don't spend a lot of time on it, but then again, don't ignore it either. Use what you already learned. For you and us old-timers that have been flying with all that experience, believe it or not, the experience is the risk management part of it. and as Steve put it today, he just added another item to his risk management. And I know we all have. You should know your limitations, use it in your mental CRM checklist, and or have it written down. You can make up your own matrix. You can actually take one of these. You can find these things online by Googling it and stuff like that, and just kind of make your own little CRM checklist. We've talked about this before. You know, your self-check. You know, are you taking medications? Have you taken something that will make you fall asleep or make you get really wide awake and then fall asleep right about the time you're coming in to approach for a landing? You know, look at what it is you've been doing. That's all part of your risk management. Set your own go, no-go limits. That's one of the things that it's probably, as far as safety is concerned, is probably one of the hardest things to manage anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's Air Force, C.A.P, general aviation. There's always that, I've got to get out of here and get to where I want to go. That's probably the one thing, bottom line, is probably the biggest killer of all. And despite what caused the accident, the bottom line is I had to get back home, or I had to get to where I wanted to go. And totally ignore the situation that might come up, especially weather. That's one of the biggest ones. Okay, overview real quick. Assess your risk. Aircraft and pilot. Your fuel, obviously, you know, Do you have enough fuel to get to point A to point B? Runway performance. Real quick, I flew with a guy that we went up to Mammoth, the Mammoth Airport up there. High elevation, and I said, have we checked our takeoff rule? It's okay. Well, I checked it anyhow. Fortunately, the chart with what our weight was and everything, we were able to get off the ground. But I told him, I says, you know, you should check on it because we're, Mammoth is 9,000 feet, or no, it's, I think it's 8,000 feet, 8,000 foot elevation. And of course it was a warm day. So, you know, the density altitude was, I think it was much higher. I don't remember what it was. But that's just one of them. We get complacent in that area. PIC in aircraft, pilot in command. One of the things too is be the PIC, be the pilot in command. If there's two of you that's pilots, make sure before you leave that you know who's the one that's the pilot in command. There's been planes that have had problems in that area. Recent flight experience, of course, set your own limitation. You guys who've got less than 10 hours, you know, if Doug has soloed you, you know that you're not going to just run out and start flying an airplane on your own, just doing anything you want. But then you got other guys that's got 10,000 flying hours, and he's got a lot of experience. But then maybe he doesn't know about a certain area too. He might have 10,000 flying hours, but maybe he's never landed in a runway like Big Bear in his whole 10,000 hours. There are people like that. Maintenance status, in-op equipment. Any in-op equipment has to be labeled in the airplane. Maintenance status, is the airplane ready to fly? Okay, airport terrain, runway condition, weather, temperature, dew point spread. How many know what do you see when you think there's fog at the place you're going?
Dew point and temperature are going to be close.
Yeah, dew point and temperature are right next to each other. En route mission, again, weather. You notice how weather is the big one. Convection conditions, search and rescue, cloud cover. Are adverse conditions widespread or localized? Your weather could be perfect where you take off, but it may not be where you're going. That happens a lot. Special use airspace, will it conflict or will it complicate weather avoidance? Real quick, I briefed an accident that took place down in San Diego, and those guys were trying to keep from going into Class B airspace and end up plowing into the side of a mountain. Doing it. Don't do that. It's not a good thing to do. It's better to get violated than it is to go into the side of a mountain. Approach. Familiarity. How familiar are you with the airport? Air Force's policy is if you're never been into the airport that you're flying into, you must have another pilot on the airplane that has been in there, at least in transport aircraft. Currency. That's a biggie. How many here think that if you fly once every 90 days, 3 touch and goes, how proficient are you? Yeah, well, Ward, you're different. Yeah. No. Currency, yes, you would be current, but proficient, no. Workload. Okay, a lot of the guys with the IFR that fly IFR know about this one. You can get pretty busy, but you can also get busy at VFR, especially if you've been in an airport or going to an airport where you've got a lot of airplanes flying like French Valley, where you've got all these people that are not announcing where they're at. You have these people landing on the wrong runway. It can get pretty busy with that too. I see people with their smiles on their face because every one of you that fly in French Valley see it all the time. That's why you take Doug with you. Okay, next safety meet is 15 May. 15.